How's it going, folks? Hope everyone's having a good time. Hello, my name is Joseph Flores. I am the Program Director of the Los Angeles Metropolitan Debate League, and welcome to the final round of Lambdal's 2021 City Financial Literacy Debate Series. Recognizing a strong need to improve adolescent financial literacy, Lambdal and the National Association of Urban Debate Leagues created this debate series with support from City Foundation. Over the last few weeks, students have been developing their financial literacy skills and building cases on both sides of this year's topic, the costs of college. Tonight's debate is the culmination of a weekend-long tournament. 75 students from 10 of our schools debated it out, and the top two teams have emerged to lay it out in the final debate. Before we jump into tonight's debate, though, I have the honor of introducing our special guest speaker for the night, Hanseul Kang. Kang is the Assistant Dean of Yale School of Management and the Executive Director of the at Yale. Kang served as the District of Columbia State Superintendent of Education from 2015 to 2020. She provided strategic vision, clear direction, and steady leadership to DC's state education agency, the Office of the State Superintendent of Education, which served over 90,000 students in public schools across more than 60 local education agencies. Tonight, she's here to share a few words with you. So thank you, and let me transition it right on over to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you to the Los Angeles Metropolitan Debate League for having me here tonight. I am really excited to hear from our students tonight, and I want to make sure we can get to their words, so I will keep my words brief. But I have spent my entire career working in public education, from my first job after college when I served as a high school social studies teacher in rural New Mexico, up through a few months ago, my role as state superintendent of education for the District of Columbia. And today I get to lead a center at the Yale School of Management that's focused on supporting leaders who work in public K-12 education. And the reason why I have done this work is because of what school meant for me when I was a student, both in elementary, middle, and high school, and when I went on to college. And so I'm particularly excited about tonight's topic because it's so relevant for students across the country and for our student speakers tonight. While I'm really looking forward to hearing the arguments on both sides of tonight's debate, what I know for sure is regardless of sort of who might have the strongest arguments tonight. What I know is that ultimately what we all want is for every student to get to make the choices that are best for them and their own situation, and to do so with full knowledge and feel empowered in those choices that they're making. We as educators want to make sure that every young person is prepared for whatever path they want to choose after high school, have access to the information they need to make those choices, and have access to the resources they need for that choice to work for them. And so I'm thrilled to hear tonight's argument and for what it will mean not only for tonight's speakers, but for other students to get to better understand this incredibly important issue. Access to financial aid was the only way that I was able to attend college. And as someone who at the time was actually undocumented, it was very complicated for me to understand what options I had access to. And I didn't have very many people in my life who could help me understand those options. So I think the work you all are doing now to build your own knowledge of this issue and to help other students understand it as well is just so incredibly important. I'm also excited because to me, what debate can mean for young people is the chance to hone your own voice, as well as build your understanding of an issue. And in my own leadership journey, that idea of finding my voice, finding my words, and how to share them with others has been one of the most challenging, but also most exciting parts of becoming a leader. And I think you all are going to be further and faster along that path than I was because of the work that you were able to do here through the Metropolitan Debate League. So thank you all for being here. I can't wait to hear your arguments, and I wish you all the best both tonight and as you go further on your own journeys to college.
Thank you very much. Glad to hear from you, and I hope you enjoyed tonight's debates. Next up, I want to introduce our panelists and debaters. Our first team is from downtown Magnets High School, Dana Ogbeedy and Eric G. McCarthy. If these are your teammates, go ahead and shout them out in the chat. Let them know you're excited to cheer them on. Our second team from Alliance Stern Math and Science School, Mia Martinez and Gabriel Gutierrez. Congratulations on making it to the final round. If these are your teammates, go ahead and shout them out. Let them know they're loved. So far, both of these teams have been undefeated in this tournament, so this is surely going to be a close debate. This round will feature a 3-judge panel. Our first judge is Thomas Mahoney. Thomas Mahoney is a financial wealth advisor at UBS Private Wealth Management, and he serves as the board president of the CFA Society Los Angeles, one of the nation's largest associations of local investment professionals. Our second judge is Tina Hay. Tina Hay comes from a diverse background encompassing film, technology, and finance. She is the founder and CEO of Napkin Finance, a visual guide to money. A strong believer in financial literacy, Tina created the platform for users of all ages to learn finance in a simple and engaging way. Our third judge is Dominic Sopranet. Dominic is an attorney at Quinn Emanuel and specializes in complex commercial litigation and trial practice with emphasis on antitrust, class actions, trade secrets, and civil fiduciary duty in corporate settings. He's also a board member of our league, Lambda. Thank you, judges, for joining us tonight. And for those of you that may not know how competitive high school debate functions, these three judges will evaluate this debate individually and each decide a winner independently. The team that secures 2 or 3 of these judges' ballots will win the debate. Finally, later in the debate, we'll hear some insight and commentary about the round from our debate expert and Lambda program manager, Gabriela Gonzalez. With these introductions out of the way, we all know what we're here for. It's time for the coin flip. On my screen, I have a coin. I'm going to flip it. If it lands on downtown magnets, Dana, you will choose your side. If it lands on Stern, Gabriel, you would choose the side. And I'm flipping. All right, it goes to Stern. What side will you be debating?
We would like to debate the 4-year. Ask
All
the
right.
4-year.
Gotcha. Stern is on the 4-year side, which means downtown magnets is on the 2-year side. Judges, please take note of that. So I just want to say 2 things before we start. First, most of you are likely familiar with our usual style of policy debates, but tonight's format is a little bit different. So to help you follow along, as we transition through the speeches, I've put the speech order on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Second, for those of you that are current debaters watching this, I encourage you to flow and come to your own decision about who you think won the debate. Our panel of judges will decide the winner tonight, but I'm interested in seeing your opinions about these debaters' speeches in the chat. For those of you in the audience that do not know, today's debate will be arguing the following question. If a student has the sole responsibility for the cost of their college education, is it a better financial decision to begin their college education at a 2-year college or to begin their college education at a 4-year college? As a result of this coin flip, Downtown Magnets High School will argue in favor of starting at a 2-year institution, while Stern Math and Science will argue in favor of starting at a 4-year institution. With that, it's time to jump straight into the debates with our 2-year case first speaker. Eric, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, the floor is yours.
All right. I'm going to be starting in 3, 2, 1. Good evening. My name is Eric, and I'm here on behalf of DMHS. Today, we would like to thank you for spending your time towards allowing us for better financial education. The resolution of today's topic is, if a student has sole responsibility for the cost of their college education, is it the better financial decision to begin their college education at a 2-year college or 4-year college? The better decision is based upon financial responsibility solely. Therefore, 2-year college will always be the better financially for these 3 main reasons: the rising cost of college, the learning experience, and workforce degrees. Firstly, we should like to say that the framing of the debate should be in terms of short-term thinking. We should consider how to finance our colleges. Those decisions may have a domino effect on all future decisions. When considering the short term, the individual should think of how in the near future. The majority of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and we believe that this is due to failed ideology on how money is thought in the long term, consideration of money that they haven't gained yet. When we factor in future disposable income, job prospects, and potential assets, it is crucial to consider whether or not a student can finance the degree in the first place. Still, long-term planning requires careful consideration of loans that accrue interest over time and often limit personal wealth. In order to accurately weigh the cost of student loan debt and degree attainment, it is best to consider the short-term value of a degree. Therefore, we argue that the student should consider financing college education as cheaply as possible, setting one up for better financial decisions in life. Moving on to our contentions. Contention 1, rising costs. The rising costs of college have become more and more of a problem over the years. As people have become more and more competitive with the cost of college has gone exponentially up. So when we consider what the best financial starting point for higher education is, it is without a doubt community college, which is not only more affordable, but the way that community colleges should be viewed and should be more widely accepted as the norm and where individuals should start from. Community colleges have flexible classes that allow for more leeway for individuals. Community college is also more affordable for a greater amount of people, which allows for more people to go to college. 17 states in the United States offer free state tuition to a state community college. Community college gives the individuals the options to boost grades from high school. Community college should be viewed as their first resort, as class sizes are smaller. According to Andrew Jorswit, a former contributor to investing at Forbes, he says that the average per cost at a community college is $135 compared to $325 at a four-year. This debate shouldn't be framed into extraordinary circumstances, but in the general population. According to a report in Trends in college pricing done in 2018, it determined that $35,000 was the average cost of annual tuition and fees at private institutions, compared with $9,700 at state colleges and $3660 at an average community college. Moving on to second contention 2, learning experience. There is way more flexibility when it comes to a community college, allowing for students to fully explore and look at what they want to major in at a much lower price and aren't bound to any time schedule. It may take longer, but it is by far cheaper than the four-year options. Students who attend community colleges are shown to have more confidence in themselves and their abilities. Community college students are more likely to go on to further learning experiences. Community college are also offering the experiences of four-year colleges, with having one quarter offering dorm rooms, according to a 2016 study report from the American Association of Community Colleges, meaning they offer traditional elements of a four-year. Most importantly, though, community colleges offer a better interaction between the student and their professors for several reasons. First is that they have smaller class sizes. Second is that the teachers aren't bound to any research that most professors at four-year colleges are bound to, so they can solely focus on teaching. According to Kevin Carey, who is an American higher education writer and policy analysis, I quote, "The first concern of the research university is unsurprisingly research. Community college, by contrast, are far more focused on teaching, and some are doing it better than even the most esteemed four-year institutions." One study also conducted by Kevin Carey surveyed community colleges compared with four-year university students, that community colleges have a higher interaction, discussion, and one-on-one rate than four-year universities. Over 2/3 of community colleges students engage in classroom discussions. Moving on to our third contention 3, workforce degrees. Going to community college allows for students to apply for higher paying jobs. The reason why the community fills workforce requirements as it feeds into the growing trend of having a bachelor's degree. So community colleges see that there is a need for bachelor's degrees in the workforce. So they respond with states beginning to shift towards offering for certain four-year degrees at community colleges. One example is that the Florida legislature granted St. Petersburg the authority to issue bachelor's degree due to the many of the four-year traditional programs are harder to get into. Also, getting a bachelor's degree is much more cheaper at a community college. Community college will be essential to fill the workforce needs, as there is a shortage of applicants that are qualified for the labor that is needed. Community college is a way to fill those gaps with those in those jobs, ways that the individual is guaranteed admission through transfer agreements. There are transfer agreements that have to be filled by the school. According to National Student Clearinghouse research data, 29% of community college students who started in the fall in 2011 transferred to a four-year institution within 6 years. Although these numbers may seem low at first, it can be explained for three following reasons. Not every community college student wants to transfer to a four-year. Second is that 60% of community college students attend school part-time, often having family obligations or job obligations, as they cannot be committed to being full-time students. Third is based upon some times applying for a school without having the right transfer credits necessary. So it's a good idea to read the fine print before to avoid this problem. However, a 2019 study conducted by the National Student Association for College Admission Counseling found that 62% of transfer students are accepted to four-year institutions. In conclusion, two-year colleges offer many different opportunities to their students, from workforce degrees to better learning experiences. And most importantly, the financial aspect of it is by far, on average, a way lower cost. The two-year option is a better point starting financially to begin with. And later in your learning education, one can transfer to a four-year college and get the credits needed to advance their careers. Yeah. And I'm just going to, for the rest of my time, 20 seconds, it's fine. I'm open for cross.
All right, starting cross-ex in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so what are the jobs that I guess are needed to be filled in? What do you say?
Well, in general, there are like a lot of sort of STEM opportunities that have become popular over the years. So those are like one of the main jobs that are sort of lacking in the.
So STEM jobs, basically, that would involve a higher education in the
Well,
STEM
that's
field.
just one example. But sorry, your question?
So STEM jobs that need higher education, right?
Well, the community colleges offer a lot of the credits needed to start their careers, and like that's what we're kind of arguing, that the financial aspect is where we should start when looking at our careers. Even though it may not give everything they need, they can later transfer to a four-year where they can fulfill their bachelor requirements or whatever they want to major in.
Okay, so then you gave evidence about in 2011, only 20 something percent actually transferred. What was that percentage again?
It was 29%, and I did give 3 reasons why those numbers are so low.
Yeah, so do you have any more like relevant reason? Because it's
Did you?
2021, that was 10 years ago. Like
Um,
any more like relevant statistics, my bad.
I think there was one conducted also by the same company. It was like, I think it was like 2016 that said it was like 26%. But we still argue that like there's, that we argue that the 62% of people who transfer actually do get into a 4-year college. So we're looking at that number compared to that 29% or 26%,
Yeah,
whatever.
so wouldn't 60% of 29 be even smaller?
No, we're saying that we're arguing that you can transfer to a 4-year to get your bachelor's, and even if you don't, some community colleges offer bachelor's degrees, bachelor's programs. But we're saying that 62% of people who want to transfer to a different school, get into a 4-year institution.
Okay, out of those 60%, how many of them finish the 4 years or like the 2 extra years they need at the other institution? Do you
Well,
know?
typically there is a study that shows that 75% of students who transfer actually finish their 4-year degrees. I can find the quote,
So the
or I
number
can
is
find the
getting
citing if you
smaller,
want.
right? Of like how many
It was by
people-
the national. It was 71%. So the National Student Clearinghouse Center said that transfer students graduate at 71%.
Okay, so it went from the 29% to like 60% of that 29.
What we're talking about exclusively, we're talking about transfer students, right? People who are
Yeah,
committed to actually furthering their careers through a
Yeah,
4-year
so
program.
the number begins to get smaller as like they keep researching, right? Because like less people are actually those 60%.
Well, you can't take. We can't take one correlation from like 29 to 26% and say that they're smaller. It could be next year that, it goes up, goes down. Statistics are like unreliable in that way.
Okay, thank you. That's time.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start in 3, 2, 1. Howdy, I'm Mia Martinez from Stern, Mass, and I'm the first speaker for the 4-year college path. The resolution questions if it's wiser to attend a 4-year college or a 2-year college if the sole responsibility of cost is on the student. I'm taking the stance on affirming that it is a better financial decision to start off education at a 4-year college. And thank you, judges and everyone, for being here. This debate should be judged based on which option provides the best return on investment of college. Contention 1 is networking. Networking is essentially interacting with other people in the professional world in order to improve your contact to the professional world. By creating contact with others in the professional world, you are able to find job opportunities easier and get started working in your career sooner. According to Porter and Wu, what you know gets you into the room, but it is who you know that will get you a seat at the table. They mention how most of the time you need to have connections in order to be able to get your quote unquote foot in the door. And that it leads to you being able to get involved with what you are interested in and build your experience and connections. Being in school also allows your professors and administrators to be able to provide opportunities for internships and interviews. Building connections at a 4-year college is easier because there are more people who are better connected to the business world and have available opportunities for students to get their career started. Doing so allows a student to start to make money and start to get into working much sooner, meaning they now have an income to budget. This allows students to have opportunities right after college or even during to get the benefits of their degree. This means that not only will they be able to quickly pay off their loans for school because they have an income, but they will have gained a valuable skill and connections because they went to a 4-year college. This means that they have an easier time paying off debt, but also a better return on their large investment that is a 4-year college. Contention 2 is a higher earning potential. Attending a 4-year college has many benefits. All of them are a part of the largest reason to go to a 4-year college, a higher earning potential. Networking, prestige, a higher education quality, all of those will give students a much higher earning potential than a student at a 2-year college. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average weekly salary of someone with an associate's degree, a degree from a 2-year college, is $887, with an unemployment rate of 2.7%. The average weekly salary of someone with a bachelor's degree is $1,248, and only an unemployment rate of 2.2%. That's a difference of about $1 million in lifetime earnings. Even though the cost of tuition is higher, you are going to make more in the end. Starting off at a 4-year college means that you will actually experience the advantages from the start. In the article, Why 60% of Community College Students Never Transfer by Grace Chen says, in California, 60% of community college students who intend to transfer to four-year universities never meet their goal. Those 60% wasted their time and money. Spending that money on a four-year college would be more beneficial in the long run instead of spending it only on a two-year college. Potential lost credits mean they'll have to spend more time going to school and will run out of FAFSA, which only lasts 6 years. They are also missing out on experiences from their first 2 years at university, which includes clubs, meeting new people, and experiencing new things in a new place. Contention 3 is a higher graduation chance. The graduating rate at four-year institutions is much higher than two-year college. In order for something to be a better financial decision, you want to gain something from it. A four-year college is a better investment because there's a higher chance of graduation. The following statistics are by educationdata.org and state graduation rates have also increased overall, especially at public four-year institutions. College graduation statistics suggest greater student success at these institutions. Four-year institutions average at 60.4% graduation rate. That number may be higher among students who take longer than 6 years to graduate. Two-year institutions average at 31.6% graduation rate. This data was derived from a college graduation statistics from 01 to 18. These numbers are important to take into consideration because these numbers reflect that a four-year institution is doing good in terms of environments and helping students graduate versus a two-year college. It is important in order for students to be in a place where success is the main goal. Conclusion. Therefore, going to a four-year college provides opportunities for students to prepare for the real world in networking, meaning they'll get a long-term career sooner, and their degree allows for a higher earning potential, meaning they will be able to get their monies much sooner in life, and their investment in college will have been a great choice. Not only that, but the graduation rate at a four-year college is exponentially greater. These three advantages allow for a better return on their students' investment of their education, and thus you should vote on the four-year path. And that will be all for me. I am open for cross-examination.
Next up is CrossX.
All right, your APA article says that networking is the set of behaviors that are aimed at building, maintaining, and using informal relationships that possess the potential benefit of facilitating work-related activities. What about the infrastructure of a four-year college makes that process easier?
So four-year colleges provide opportunities like internships and academic-based clubs and other interactions. And there's a wider range of people who are interacted with the business world, or in general, just people who are in already their careers, which means that they have more chances of talking to people and getting to know more people that are in that wide array of areas, meaning that you're going to be able to get more connections better. And like there's even other types of clubs like fraternities and sororities that are going to be better for like networking. And those allow for students to get those connections that they build later on, so that later on when they need those kind of things, they have someone to reach out to that they're close to and build like that. Like there's a thing of the opportunity of the handshake, where actually going up and shaking someone's hand will be beneficial because it's allowing that person to get that interaction with someone and that close connection to someone, which is what's really important in networking. And that allows for a lot of opportunities in the job world.
Sure. My question was more about like, why is a business club at a four-year school different than a business club at a two-year school? Like if it's just about meeting people with professional connections, why is that unique to a four-year university?
So four-year universities are typically have a lot more people that are connected to the business world, like I said earlier, but more often than that, it's just like a more access to that because it is usually a wider array of people, versus that a community college will have a smaller like selection of people. Meaning,
okay, I have another question. So your second article says that low transfer rates are caused by things like rising tuition at public universities, which discourages people from transferring. Why does that mean that students who go to four-year schools are more likely to graduate?
Students at a four-year school are more likely to graduate because of the environment that's created at a four-year university, and that's very different than at a two-year university, which is impacting that like graduation statistic.
All right. The US DOE says that 20% of students default on their student loans. Why does that mean that like four-year universities are better for building personal wealth?
Because of the higher earning potential at the end and the higher, you're going to be able to build that like, or you're going to be able to make that kind of money back afterwards, and you have more access to scholarships and grants at the beginning beforehand. So, and like at four-year colleges versus you don't really get that kind of access at a two-year college.
Well, people default on their student loans because they're not making enough money to pay them after they graduate. So if like a fifth of all students who graduate from four-year universities literally can't afford to pay their loans, why does that mean that like they've successfully networked or they've been able to like leverage career opportunities?
Well, the fact that there's other ways to be able to get money for school other than just student loans, which does end up being like a larger percentage of, but there's still opportunities like scholarships and grants, like I said earlier. And that's time. Sorry.
That is time. So, with the constructive speeches now over, the debaters are going to take a moment to prepare for their rebuttals and their concluding statements. While that prep time is running, I've got Gabriela Gonzalez here with me. We're going to chat a little bit about what we've seen so far in this debate. Who do you think is ahead in this one?
I feel that so far everyone is actually on neck and neck. I feel like the affirmative or the two-year option has definitely brought up a couple of good points, talking about how in the short term, a two-year option is best because of the return on investment argument, and also, I guess, the good educational experience that students can have at a two-year. I mean, when professors are focused more on teaching and less on research, I mean, I feel like that could enhance the student, learning potential and just how they apply that knowledge outside of the classroom. I think that's a really, really good argument in terms of maybe that, maybe giving back to the students in terms of investment. But also the negative or the con side of the four-year option also brought up pretty good points, right? Talking about how, for example, the graduation rates are way higher at a four-year university. And I think CrossX really highlighted that when they talk about, the environment that's created or nurtured at a four-year and more opportunities for networking that could possibly second prove to be the better financial decision because of the networking opportunities that students have. I mean, now, what is it? The evidence that they cited talks about it's more so about who you know that'll get you the foot into the door of whatever option that you choose. And I think both teams here are even on that question. Because Dana also brought up a pretty good point, talking about how, what's the difference in options and opportunities or activities from a two-year versus a four-year. I think we're gonna have to see in the debate how that conversation turns out, because that's a pretty good point.
Yeah, I agree. These case speeches have been really strong and sort of building up their own case. I'm looking forward to the rebuttal speeches where they're actually going to do a bit more side-by-side clash and comparison. And I'm sure the judges are going to be looking for that too.
I feel like if I would have known this information, I probably would have made a different decision when I started off my college journey.
So with that, it looks like prep time is up. Have all the debaters returned? I see 3 of us. Is Eric there? Yes, he is. All right. So next up, we have our 2-year rebuttal. Thank you, Gabriela, for your comments.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dana Agbidi, and I'm a senior from downtown Magnets High School. I am so appreciative of this opportunity to have an open conversation about financial planning and learn about making informed financial decisions. Thank you for taking the time to facilitate an activity that has given me so much. Our opponents have suggested that four-year colleges are a better financial decision, but this is grounded in long-term thinking. In order to factor in future disposable income, job prospects, and potential assets, it is crucial to consider whether or not a student can finance the degree in the first place. Still, long-term planning requires careful consideration of loans that accrue interest over time and often limit personal wealth. In order to accurately weigh the cost of student loan debt and degree attainment, it is best to consider the short-term value of a degree. Also, in order to assess the value of two-year degrees, it is important to remember that the resolution is about where students should start their college education, rather than where they finish. Spending 2 years at a community college does not mean that students cannot access networking opportunities available at four-year schools. Based on a survey conducted by Chegg Internships, of the students that do conduct internships, only 13% complete 3 or more during their time in college. This is because many internships require junior standing to even apply. Juniors who are transfer students do not take different classes, have different professors, or engage in different activities than students who attended a four-year college since their freshman year. Networking is about taking the initiative to reach out to a professor, send a cold email, or attend a networking event. If anything, starting at a two-year college equips students with the grit and determination to take initiative and pursue networking opportunities. Many students also make their most successful networking connections outside of the classroom. Our opponents have also stated that community colleges that community college students are not all able to transfer all of their college credits. However, a 2019 study conducted by the National Association for College Admissions Counseling found that 62% of transfer students are accepted to four-year universities. Unlike freshman undergraduate admissions, transfer admissions decisions are based on preparation for a specific degree field. For example, to be admitted as a business major at UCLA, a student must have successfully completed the prerequisite coursework and showed that they have pursued their interests through extracurricular involvements. This means that admission decisions are fundamentally a reflection of academic preparation. Thus, 62% of transfer students who matriculate to four-year universities have the credits from their associate's degrees. Our opponents have also identified that low graduation rates of community colleges, but this is like comparing apples to oranges. According to the latest data from the National Student Clearinghouse Research Center, transfer students graduate at a higher rate nationally, 71% versus 65%, than students who start as freshmen at four-year schools. This means that the supportive environment of a community college is better at preparing students for the high-level coursework available at four-year colleges. The teachers at community colleges also offer a higher quality of education because they are not pressured to produce large amounts of research. At leading research institutions, teachers have to meet quotas of the number of publications they create each year. This pressures teachers at four-year universities to prioritize grant writing and research over meeting with students and developing lesson plans. This means that the quality of education in community colleges is far more individualized. Additionally, the majority of community college instructors have a terminal degree in their field. This means that community college students take their English 101 course with an instructor that has a PhD in English, rather than an adjunct professor in a four-year university. Our opponents have also highlighted the value of earning potential, but it's crucial to consider that 20% of students that default on their student loans. This means after graduating from a four-year university, many students aren't making enough income to cover the cost of the loans that they accrued in the process. You should consider that earning potential is fundamentally about industry rather than degree type. We should also say that the prestige isn't an important factor that automatically translates to income, especially when many transfer students still graduate from prestigious universities. Students at two-year colleges learn better financial skills than students at four-year universities who take out loans. This is because the flexibility of two-year colleges enables students to work while in school. This gives students a steady income, which they can use to invest, develop a budget, and save. Even if some financial skills can be taught from loans, taking out loans should not be taken lightly. Both federal and personal loans acquire interest while students are in school and take a sizable amount of income. For each of these reasons, we believe that students should consider community colleges because they are fundamentally a better financial decision. We say that the networking opportunities and quality of instruction available at two-year colleges is comparable, if not better, than that of four-year schools. Ultimately, this means that students have a higher potential for earning income and building personal wealth because they don't have to cover the cost of student loans.
Next up, we have the four-year rebuttal.
All right, I'll be starting in 3, 2, 1. Hey y'all, I'm Gabriel Gutierrez from STEM Maths. Thank you for taking the time to be in here. I would like to remind everyone of the framework given at the beginning of the debate, which is the way the judge should view this debate. This debate should be judged based on which option provides the best return on the investment of college. I'm taking the stance on affirming that it is a better financial decision to start off education at a four-year college. First off, a four-year college is a better investment. Yes, tuition is cheaper at a two-year college, but it does not necessarily mean it's a better financial decision, per to the evidence at the bottom. Four-year institutions average at 60.4% graduation rate. The number may be higher among students who take longer than 6 years to graduate. Two-year institution average a 31.6% graduation rate. This is by the education.org. What this means is that the environment and situations at a four-year college is way better than one at a two-year college. And we can see this by the graduation rate of both of them. You have a better chance at graduating at a four-year college, so it's a better financial decision to go to a four-year college. Not only this, but statistics reflecting, and these statistics are reflecting the type of environment that a four-year and a two-year college is like. A four-year college has a better environment that helps support their students in order to graduate. Community colleges aren't widely known that good like four-year universities. Because of this, four-year colleges provide flexibility to students by offering a lot of advantages while with studying abroad or scholarship and tutoring. In an article by Kelsey Morton, it states there is abundance of resources and opportunity for students to take advantage of at a four-year at a four-year college. Because they are larger and more recognized in comparison to two-year trade schools, tutoring, studying abroad, and scholarships are more readily available. Also, most four-year colleges have clubs and organizations that can help improve networking and social skills and meet others who have similar interests as you. Creating new colleges and social experiences, four-year colleges provide experiences like no other. Flexibility comes both ways. Yes, community colleges offer flexible schedules, but that's only because they only offer general education for an associate degree. But four-year university gives bachelor degrees and or master's degree. That is considered to be more valuable and as well offer flexible scheduling. An article by Stephen Blackburn states that community colleges and four-year institutions are offering more flexible learning schedules to accommodate the needs of today's college students who are often working adults. Options include late start courses, mini semesters, and block schedules that allow undergrads to enroll in just one class at a time. This flexibility also contains to a four-year institution. Next, frats and sororities are a source for networking. It is an integral part of the college experience, and Greek life provides one of the strongest foundations for social interacting with the networking of peers. And still, most chapters do provide pathways to involvement in some sort of community service, project, or philanthropy endeavors. Lastly, what do 85% of executives of Fortune 500 companies and 80% of United States presidents since 1900 have in common? According to fraternity advisors, they were all members of Greek organizations during college. Fraternity and sorority membership helps young men and women cultivate leadership, pay for the classes in order to gain those credits back. It's literally counterproductive. David B. Mohan, a doctoral student at the Graduate Center of the City University of New York, and Paul Attewell, a professor of education there, are the study co-authors. They found that lost accreditor for community college courses that four-year institutions did not accept or did not count towards the major were a serious stumbling block for many students transferring. Credit loss when transferring is common and can cause many more obstacles. It is more financially better decision to just go to a four-year college and have a higher rate of graduating and not worry about losing credits, which then you'll have to pay for. Then you'll have to pay for more classes after too. Not only that, but statistics show that the system is unreliable. An article by the Association of American Colleges states the more selective a four-year institution is, the less likely it is to enroll students who previously attended a community college. According to the report, while 21% of students enrolling directly from high school enter a selective institution, only 9% of students transferring from a community college do the same. Community college transfer students make up 5% of the student population at the most competitive institution. Let me paint a picture. Only 31% of students graduate from a community college. So out of that 31%, only 29% actually want to transfer. And out of that 29%, only 60% succeed. Then only 71% finish with a 2+2 program. When you think about it, numbers of students succeeding the 2+2 program shrink as you look at it. Going back to what our opponents said about comparing the 71% of student transfer graduate compared to 60% graduating at four-year, it is seen to perceived wrong. That 71% is actually a really small fraction of students, possibly only a couple thousand, while 60% of four-year student graduate is a separate category of 100,000 student graduate. Comparing just percentage makes no sense without having all the information. Next, counseling. Four-year universities are an ideal place for students to learn. These colleges have systems in place in order to support students mentally and not just education-wise. Colleges can be tough and need support in many aspects, not only in education. Four-year colleges know this, opposed to a two-year college. Thank you.
Next up, we have the two-year closing speech.
All right, yeah. All right. Okay. All right, starting in 3, 2, 1. Judges, it has been proven time and time again that the best choice action financially is starting one's education at a two-year college as opposed to a four-year. In the resolution itself, it states that we should prioritize the financial aspect solely. We come to this informed conclusion based upon the financial knowledge that's placed in front of us. Remember that we framed this debate from the resolution, which itself states that we should look at the best financial decision, not other ideas. Also, should we be seen that we defend that one should look at short-term degree acquisition instead of the long-term philosophy that everything should be paid for in loans over a lifetime? First off, we would like to restate that community college is free in 17 states for the first 2 years, and there are financial opportunities available for those who choose to go four-year colleges. Our commitment to being full-time students, community colleges give flexibility in classes and scheduling. Often it is the case for community college students that they don't have to worry about one's credit score, nor do they have to worry about getting a cosigner. FAFSA is available for community college students and doesn't require a credit check nor a cosigner to get the majority of their student loans. One doesn't have to worry about the private student loan process. Lastly, it's harder to build wealth and assets when the individual has a base salary but has to pay off student loans for a long time in their life, for the first 20 years of their career. The transfer agreements the transfer agreements are there for the community college students that are placed within four-year institutions, they can transfer. The latest data from National Student Clearinghouse Research Center shows that transfer students graduate at a higher rate nationwide. So when they continue saying that that graduation rates are lower, no, actually for transfer students that actually want to get into these colleges, it's actually higher than people who start as freshmen at four-year schools, 71% compared to 65%. So transfer students have the necessary tools to be successful in college, even more than the start of four-year students. There are agreements in place between community colleges and 4 years that allow the college transfer process to take place. They say that community colleges, that some more selective colleges it's harder for community college students to transfer. That's obviously makes sense. Like just in general, if you have a four-year kid that's just trying to get into a very prestigious school, it's going to be harder for them. Same thing with the hardest community college process. So there is no argument that they could be made that it's more selective because they're more selective to begin with. Moving on, the four-year case often uses the terminology of networking, but networking isn't exclusive to four-year institutions. Networking is available to those who transfer from community college to four-year universities, and most networking doesn't even apply until after grad school. The National Association for College Admission Counseling found that 62% of transfer students are accepted to four-year institutions. So regardless, the community college will still get the opportunities available, which will end up with a higher asset amount, incurring less debt in the long term, having their expenses throughout college lowered. Higher earning potential is there, prestige is there, and higher education is readily available for community college transfer students. With networking, that students have access to that to make more potential, along with practically no student loan or little to none student loan debt right as they get out of college, meaning that they can save for big ticket items such as saving up for that house and in the American dream. And lastly, I'd like to emphasize, so in general, networking isn't exclusive to four-year institutions. We can transfer in the junior year. Once you get those general education classes available from a community college, one can transfer there with these student agreements, and they can get the credits needed for their majors, and they can network in their atmosphere. All right, lastly, we would like to emphasize and remind you of the following points. First, community college has a better sense of education from the teacher as there is more interaction between the two. As stated earlier by Kevin Carey, that 2/3 of students talk with the teachers in community colleges as opposed to the huge state college classes with 40 plus students or compared to small liberal arts schools who have huge prices, huge sums of money leading to debt for a lifetime. The scholarship opportunities and grants available simply aren't just for everyone. Not everyone is considered low income. So when we consider low class, middle class students, community college is more friendly to those from a community college and then later transfer to a four-year.
And next up, we have our last speech of the debate, the four-year closing.
I'll start in 3, 2, 1. The resolution questions if it is wiser to attend a four-year college or a two-year college if the sole responsibility of costs on the student. This is the resolution just because a college is cheaper doesn't make it a better financial choice. There's way more things that come into consideration. For example, the graduation percentage proves statistics that a four-year college is a better environment for graduating. This comes to show that financially speaking, it's better to invest in your education rather than hope to pay less for classes and possibly not graduating, because the environment there has proven that 30.6% of graduates of community colleges. Let's talk about debt at a four-year university. About 42% of students at four-year public universities finish their bachelor's degree without any debt, and 78% graduated with less than $30,000 in debt. This rate shows that it's possible to graduate from a four-year college debt-free. And 78% of graduate $30,000 or less debt, and that's key because the investment that is made, the student will be worth it for their experience and education and connections. And we never said that a four-year university is the only place where networking happens, but it's exponentially better, or it's more exponentially more opportunities for a four-year college compared to anywhere else. Judge, we ask you to vote on which decision has the best return on investment of college. At a four-year university is a better return on investment because it allows for networking, a higher earning potential, and a higher chance of graduation. From APU LO, they talk about the goal being transfer students who transfer from a community college to a four-year university. We have given factual evidence that states many credits are lost when transferring, which means that transferring a student loses credits and causes a setback that is counterproductive because they end up having to pay back those credits after transferring. The investment of to a four-year college is key and more financially smart than for the return of doing so. Roughly 15.8% of all students who begin their academic career at a community college, keyword is begin, graduate at a four-year university within 6 years, according to NCS Research Center. Only 30% of community college students succeed in transferring to a four-year institution. The percentage is super low and comes from a wide variety of information. Quality of education is much better at a four-year university. They have more funds for better opportunities and students, which is why it's more beneficial. Community colleges do not provide the same environment for education, which is seen in the graduation rates mentioned earlier. Not only that, but they are more commonly known and recognized by employers, which gets your career started. Four-year universities are an ideal place for students to learn. The colleges have systems in place in order to support students mentally and not just education-wise. Colleges can be tough and hard, and students need support in many aspects, not just education. Four-year colleges know this, opposed to two-year college that is not ideal environment for a student. Studies show and says that residential colleges and universities have employees keeping an eye on students in the dorms and professors who notice when an individual is acting strange in class. It is a different story on computer campuses where thousands of students are constantly coming and going. They might not take classes regularly. On top of that, students cover a far wider spectrum of ages and mental health issues. The nature of such campuses means that they typically don't offer many services that four-year colleges use to monitor and treat students with mental health problems. For example, 87% of community college counseling services doesn't provide on-call or after-hours emergency coverage. Those services are fairly common at four-year universities. By Ali Grassgreen. As mentioned previously, in the constructive networking allows for job opportunities, and four-year college provides these opportunities to network. Internships, clubs, and in the general environment of four-year college is what allows for these opportunities to make connections into a better chance of getting into jobs and the experience of the field you want to get into. Americans with a bachelor's degree can earn a weekly wage of $1,137, and that's higher than the median weekly earnings for workers at all education levels, which is $860. Average earnings for workers with bachelor's degrees work out to $59,124 per year. In the first constructing, they mentioned how you can still get a substantial career with a two-year degree, but it's shown that according to educationdata.org that 94,487 or 12.9% of STEM graduates earn associate's degrees, while 432,777 or 59.2% of STEM graduates earn bachelor's degrees. A student who manages their finances at a four-year college can get a job or do work studies and gain financial understanding. They mentioned vote for the four-year plan because they mentioned because of the long-term investment that it will provide for a student. They mentioned that a four-year term should be how we short term should be how we judge us better. Oh, sorry, that's my time. Thank you.
And now, judges will have a few minutes to fill out their ballot and make their decision. Thank you all for your patience while our judges tallied up their scores. This is a very close debate. Congratulations to both Downtown Magnets and Alliance Stern for making it to the final round of the 2021 Financial Literacy Debate Series. In a 2-1 decision, our tournament champions are Downtown Magnets, Dana Agbidi, and Eric G. McCarthy. Now I will hand it off to our judges for their feedback.
I have comments that can apply to everybody, though. First of all, I'm going to recommend that you all have a stronger close. When your time runs out, you just sort of taper off, work on coming up with the final 15 seconds, a very persuasive close summarizing your 7 minutes or your 6 minutes, okay? Rather than just saying, oh, my time's out. A second thing, when you are speaking in a round and you're trying to get a lot of information out and it sounds kind of monotone, like that. If you have a killer argument, or if you have the piece of evidence that is the debate hinges on, you should stop, slow down, even pause for a few seconds and emphasize that. My last point is repetition. It's not enough to just say an argument in your first speech. Carry it throughout the debate. Once again, try to figure out what the key argument is in the debate. Slow down, use a stronger close, emphasize, and use repetition. Great debate, everybody.
Yeah, so really great job, everyone. I learned a lot, and I know it's not easy to, have a certain limited amount of time. I think everyone did great. I won't repeat some of my comments overlap with Tom, so I won't repeat them. One of the things I'll say is that it really stands out for someone who's listening on the other end if you're reading something versus you have a conversation or you're have a point that you're making versus just speeding through and we can tell when it's reading and it makes it fast. There were a lot of great points that I tried to process, but I missed because either it was too fast, or there was no break in the different points. Overall, though, I was really impressed, and I commend you all for doing a great job.
I want to thank the debaters for the obvious effort and preparation. It was a lot of work and a lot of information, and really hats off on the information that you conveyed on this topic. It was very impressive. I'm a trial lawyer. I have to talk to juries all over the country and judges all over the country on cases that are very complex. And so my main comments come from my background. And that is, reading, in my view, really undercuts your ability to connect with your audience for some of the reasons that have been mentioned. You tend, when you read, to speed up. We're on Zoom, but if we weren't on Zoom and we were in a public setting, when you read, you place a medium between you and your audience. Sure. Now, one thing I'll say in my concluding remarks is, I always say, I believe this, and I tell young lawyers this: the lawyer who wins is likely, if the case is winnable, if either side could win, the lawyer who wins is going to have the more relaxed self-confidence, because relaxed self-confidence is persuasive, and it's hard to emote relaxed self-confidence when you're rushing through prepared remarks, trying to pack as much information as you can. Again, those comments suggest my prejudice as a trial lawyer and an advocate, but I think you might take them into account. Congratulations to each of the debaters. Obviously, you guys are going to be successful in your education careers and your life careers. You show enthusiasm, commitment, intelligence, and hard work, and hats off.
Judges, once again, thank you all for your time tonight. And if you have any additional comments, feel free to write it on the ballot. Students, congratulations on making it to the final round. Win or lose, thank you for debating. And I think we all learned the most important lesson that policy debaters could learn. And it's, we always got to slow down. It's a habit that's tough to break, but that you'll learn with time. Okay. But that's all that I've got for tonight. Thank you to everyone at home who tuned in despite the disconnect for a moment. Have a good night. I will talk to you all later.